Alors, il a été fait mention à plusieurs reprises dans cette
Was
présentation.
already mentioned during the AgroPAM, well, the AgroPAM project was mentioned several times. So before Serge Bouet tells you the details of this project, Patricia MAUSSION is a representative of the regional council, and she's a farmer in the department. So in terms of specialized vegetal production, the AgroPAM project is supported by the region. So you can tell us how the region actually supports the specialized vegetal project. Thank you for your invitation. Indeed, specialized vegetables or plants have a strong weight in the region, so it's important for the region to support producers. We have several levers to support producers. Well, we're co-financing this seminar, for instance, and I wasn't here yesterday, I just arrived this morning, but we can see that your concerns revolve around weeding and how do you reduce weeds. So there are evolutions necessary in the systems with alternative methods and innovative methods, and as well as multi-aspect techniques, because things that can be used for conventional farmers and organic farmers, we need systems that are, can be used at a large scale. And yes, we have called for projects for applied research and experiments. We think it is very important to work on this and to disseminate results towards farmers. There are expectations, there are needs, so we do support projects, but we also think it is really necessary to push the process up to dissemination towards producers. There's also another way we support with what we call the PCAE for vegetable plant production. You have needs given the experimental programs you wish to invest in some equipment. We have investment subsidy programs for plant production to support your investments. So in terms of technical weeding, in terms of phytosanitary product trends, and also to face irrigation issues and the new ways of irrigating with new equipments, we need to secure the water resource. We also support companies from the plant sector. Like any other company, there were difficulties given the pandemics, and some of the companies of the sector benefited from some support for bank loan postponing. For production, you need sometimes replacement of your workers and associates because of the pandemic, so there are a lot of things that the region does for you. There might be also questions from the audience. You mentioned the call for project by the region. This is, for instance, for the AgroPAMS, we did ask for support, financial support for this project. So we asked Serge Bouet, who's in the FNAMS, leading the AgroPAMS project, and the EDEP by being a partner. So Serge Bouet is going to introduce you to the project, and there will be questions after his presentation. Thank you, Serge. You have about 20 minutes. Well, I would like to present you this project. It's about testing and transferring innovative agro-equipment towards farmers regarding weeding and weeds control to reduce the use of chemical herbicides, and especially for two sectors, maps and seed productions. It's a 3-year project, 2021-2023. So to tell you more about the context, these two sectors have common challenges. Of course, MAPS, you're familiar with them. It's a booming project with 67,000 hectares in production, an extra 32% in number of producers in the past 3 years, a large number of species, and a turnover close to 4 billion euros. In the seeding sector, which I know more, is 400,000 hectares, all species included, but with a lower number of species, or a similar number of species, sorry, 150, and there are a lot of large crops of cereals with corn, fodder, oil seeds, and so on. So 65% is produced by three groups of species: corn, sorgho, vegetables, and oilseeds. So a strong added value sector, and mainly for export purposes. So these two sectors have common issues and common points. So they produce a lot of species, subspecies that don't occupy large surfaces, and the profile of farms is very diversified. There are a lot of large farms, but a lot of smaller specialized. For example, in the region we have a lot of greenhouse and a few hectares of seed productions, maybe 5,000 square meters of greenhouse and the rest a few hectares. So in the Pays-de-Loire region, whether it is for MAP or seeds, it is a region that has hosted these productions historically for a long time. What brings together the sectors is that there are challenges in terms of weeding. Of course, in MAP, you already know about that with pollution, with natural contaminants like datura, ragwort, and so on. And also there are strict standards. For seeds, it is highly contractualized, and the producer commits to follow specifications from the customer. So in terms of standards, if there's a non-compliance, the customer will reject the batch, and so zero income for the producer. So in terms of cost of labor, for some species there is a need for manual labor. So there are also issues to recruit the labor. So these are preoccupations for producers, and all that weeding in terms of chemical solution is relying on very few molecules. We're talking about minor agreements. The FNAMS work on homologation in minor use, added to the other products. But for some species, we're close to an impasse with old molecules that are not renewed by the research. So it's a it's a source of concern. So we need other levers like cover crops or manual weeding, and the choice of cover crop is also a key issue. Another common point between the two sectors is the development of organic production. In seeds, it is something where more and more producers are looking into it, although it's not a lot of surface, but in terms of number of producers, it's increasing. I don't know about MAPS. But for organic culture, controlling weeds is a key issue, of course. It was often a hindrance for seeds production. So there are strong expectations in both sectors in terms of weeds. The common points that brought together these two sectors for the AgroPAMS project. The genesis of the project, it started in 2018. There was a demonstration day that brought together 600 professional visitors from both seed production and MAP production. So IDEPMAI, the FNAM, Hempit for hemp, Vigipolice. So it was a day for demonstration and exhibition of equipment, and we could see that producers were really interested in innovations in terms of equipment. And for equipment producers, they discovered these very specific sectors. You know, they usually work on large vegetable productions, lettuce production, more added, more traditional sectors, if you will. And so they discovered highly motivated producers with high technical knowledge. So from that day, the idea arose to come up with a test station for innovative equipment. The point was to bring equipment manufacturers into our sectors so that they work on our issues, because our production systems are different. If you produce vegetable seeds, you produce radishes in 6 months, not 6 weeks, because it's not for eating, it's for seeds. So the cycles are longer, for instance. So issues are different than vegetable producers. So we started with a questionnaire. Before really getting started, we made an inventory of 50 companies that either startup companies or already set up equipment manufacturers. About 25 were really motivated to work on the project. We had a high interest expressed through the questionnaire. But also we could see that there was a lack of knowledge of the production systems in our two sectors. So there was a real need for expertise and education of manufacturers on our specificities. And they needed to know our investment capacities. So we also had a questionnaire on producers with MAP producers and seed producers to know their readiness to invest in new equipment in the next 5 to 10 years, as well as their expectations. So producers have great expectations, but it can vary. The level of investment varies a lot in the next 5 to 10 years, but the will to invest was there. So there are different discrepancies between two sectors. With seeds, we're talking about large crop production. So they're already familiar with GPS working, whereas for MAP, it's less frequent. But in terms of mechanized weeding, maybe MAPs were already further along. So joint expectations, if you will. So in 2021, we kept exchanging to really set up the project AgroPAMS, which is now ongoing. The objectives of the project. First, identify solutions, innovative solutions, among equipment manufacturers. What is interesting for our specific sectors? Another objective is to support manufacturers by presenting them our sectors, our cultures, our expertise on our cultures, explaining to them how we lead our production technically, to try and make sure that the equipment produced would be adapted to our production. So then the point is to test the equipment selected, to have trials at the right time on the right type of culture, and to make a list of the first successes in these trials. And the third part is to disseminate solutions, to really communicate on the first results, to really explain what solutions have been identified through the trials. So organizing demonstration days during the first trials and to conclude one final day in 2023 with demonstrations. An example of equipment worked on, the robot called Farm Droid, which is the Danish, sorry. So it's powered by solar panel. It makes it possible to sow small seeds and to hoe on the line and around the line. So we contacted the company and proposed a protocol for trials with common productions like corn flour, with carrots, and etc. So this robot can be used with very small seeds, which is why we chose those specific plants. And each group of seed is sowed, and the robot can decide whether it needs hoeing or not, where it's going. So it's a very accurate work from sowing to hoeing. Here you can see the results on corn flour. Efficiency on the first two hoeing, you can see very good results for dicotyledons and gramineate plant grass plants. So it only shifts the surface of the soil to kill emerging weeds. You can see that the robot is capable of working on corn flour. There's a kind of blade going between the seeds and between the lines, the rows. So the blade action is regulated in terms of speed, of closeness to the plant. So it's highly accurate. You can see that the leaves are being shaken but not cut by the robot. So it's interesting. And in terms of accuracy of sowing, the positioning of the seeds were really accurate. So it's between 0.5 centimeters to find the position of the group of seeds, and it was actually efficient. There were more difficult with carrots and parsley because their growing is very slow to emerge and strengthen. So corn flour is more quickly competitive with weeds. Another equipment we worked on is the Rotosoc hoeing machine, which is distributed by an equipment manufacturer in the West, but it's made in Italy. In the East, sorry, but it's made in Italy. So it's animated by the movement forward of the hoeing. So these kind of rotative heads that you can see are coming to really move the earth around the line. So we looked into parsley, carrots, dactyl. We also have interesting results because this tool is pretty round, so it can get close to small rows in a selective manner, because the closer you get, the more the lower part of the bowl is away from the rows, so from the roots, so it doesn't penalize the roots of the crop. So with hemp at a young stage, for instance, there are some earth projections that destroy young weeds if there are dry conditions for them to burn in the sun after sowing.
This was all the object of a demonstration over the course of the year. This was the case for Farm Dried in 21 and Rotussac in June 2022. Through meetings that were suggested for farmers, etc., to come and talk to each other, to talk to us about the initial results. So this was really the ideal time to talk about the conditions of use, the coast, the aid, the financial aid, perhaps the problems, maintenance, all of that. And that's all of that's included in the article. And these are recent meetings. The last one, which is forecast for April next year, and I invite you all to join us. This will be a demonstration day, but also we're going to show you lots of different material. You'll not just see the robotics, but you'll see different material used for mastering the cover management of cover crops, spraying, of identifying weeds. Currently, there are 12 people who have already agreed to come along to exhibit. So really, it's not a salon, if you like. It's not a fair. It's really a day where we're going to show you all the different crop support that's in place and the material that's undergoing changes, revolving, evolving, and of course we're hopefully the weather will play its part. And this is all being supported by the region and by SEMAI. Please note this date and join us if you can. Here are some links if you need to get any contacts in the meantime. Thank you.